Welcome back, everyone, to a new age of the modern day mod. Remember, in the last episode ever of the United States, we defeated the great Russians. In a great purge of the CSTO, we defeated them. We destroyed the CSTO and wiped it off the face of the map. But this is a new age. America has a new president. Donald J. Trump has just taken over presidency, and the Republican Party is the majority of the party here in the United States. Also in the United Kingdom. Theresa May, I think that's how you say her name. She just won her election not too long ago, and now she stands as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. There's been a lot of talk recently with Donald Trump about possibly wanting to destroy NATO if they do not pay their fair share. So, that's why we have this option. At any point, Donald Trump can say, you know what? This little NATO thing over here, this little NATO thing, get rid of it. Gone. We don't want it anymore. Donald Trump can do that. He can destroy NATO if he wishes. There's also a lot of new things that we have discovered here. A lot of new things that the US can choose to do. Now, this is kind of a mod spotlight little thing because it's been so long since we played as the US. It's a little bit of a mod spotlight. The US got a lot of new things to choose from. Building the wall. Perhaps now that Donald Trump is elected, you have this option in the national focus to build the wall. You can befriend Taiwan and do things with South Korea now. You can do basic education reform, which, I mean, number one thing is we're going to do that. Also, the United States starts off with a lot bigger of a standing army. You can now choose to do new things as the United States. Kind of depends on what you wish to do. I mean, Canada's still Canada, so everybody, Canada. The Ukraine's still dealing with their thing. The Islamic State still reigns supreme over here. I guess, supreme. They're dying very quickly. And the U.S. should actually take action, because they have been, but for the moment they are not. At least not in the mod. So, that is what's going on. It's a new age of the United States here in the modern day mod. I'm very, very excited about it. What we're going to do is we're just going to push about... We'll go until March. What is this? The Minsk Agreement is in effect. After many failed attempts, breaches of ceasefires, and broken border demarkments, I think, or whatever that is, the Ukrainian government and the pro-Russian insurgents have finally come to a peace agreement that seems to last both countries. Both countries have retreated behind a ceasefire line 10 kilometers from the front, limiting fighting to a minimum. Minor breaches of the agreement are still reported, but the peace seems to return to Ukraine. So Ukraine, I'm guessing, yes, they have a truce with their little thing they've been at war with. The Islamic State is still around, so we're going to be watching that, but that's cool. The Ukrainians no longer have that fight. The Sanders craze. What is this? Ooh, cool. Tired of it by the general movement by the American political system towards the right, with Republicans taking increasingly radical and Democrats taking increasingly moderate stances, a new political thing has opened on the far left that Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was happy to fill. The older gentleman of Jewish-Polish descent and a longtime independent member of the Senate, even though backed by Democratic Party, is spoken out against American imperialism about the dominance of wealthy over the unfortunate. In times like these, populists seem viable, while populists like Donald Trump dominate the right-wing rhetoric. The left-wing populism is not a great issue in the United States. Will Sanders, though, change that? So you can see that Republicans now fall under 43%. Democrats go up to 48%. The Green Party under Jill Stein goes up. So that is very cool. Gary Johnson goes up a little bit. Awesome, awesome. That's actually really cool. So Bernie Sanders actually leads the Democratic Party now. So we could see a different Democrat come 2020 in this mod. So that's actually cool. That Hillary Clinton, I think, is out of the question as far as this whole thing is concerned. But of course, we have 4 years to do. This is kind of going to be. I'm not going to do this kind of month to month kind of thing. I'm going to make the United States what I think Trump is going to do by 2020. And it's going to be very radicalized, of course, because we got to make this interesting. But again, there have already been, protests over in Washington and other parts of the world about Donald Trump becoming president, and that's good. They're allowed to speak their piece. So I'm very excited and happy about that, but I'm terrified for lives because Donald Trump is a very angsty person. So he could choose to do something very terrifying in the next few months that I hope does not happen, but, that's my little tiny political spiel. I'm not going to make this about politics. We're going to make this about the mod. So we can modify our government. We have different people, of course, that we can choose from, but I don't think we need to at the moment. They almost all have pictures, though, which is really cool. There's only a few of them that don't, so that's awesome. What else can we do? We can build up a few things, like subs. We very much need subs and convoys. Subs just because we need numbers in our boats. It's basically what we need. We also want to start construction on nukes everywhere. Ooh, can we build some? Yeah, we can build 2. Ooh, cool. So let's also do it. Nevada and Colorado can take some. Arizona, New Mexico. And I want all of those, basically. I clicked on synthetic oil refineries. Oh, I'm dumb. I don't need those. I'm great on oil. Good lord. That's why I was like, you can build 2? That's amazing. No, you can't. You can only build 1. Figured that out. There we go. So we have a lot bigger of a standing army, and of course we're going to want to go with South Korea. I don't think they're going to be able to get into NATO. I mean, that is our faction, so technically they can, but I don't think they will, unless they are threatened, of course. But we are going to try to improve the relations with them, and that might be our next thing after education reform, is choosing to help them. I don't think I've ever heard this song. Oh, but I actually think it is a part of the game. So that's awesome. Music volume's never been a thing before, but I will turn it down a little bit. But everybody's kind of just gearing up, training troops. I don't really need to at the moment. I have only 86,000 in my available manpower, so I will not. I was going to say, the Islamic State, there is a thing down here that says, NATO against the Islamic State. We're most likely not going to need that, just because I think Syria and Kurdistan is going to be able to wipe them out. Now, if the Islamic State takes Kurdistan and actually gets some ground here, then maybe we'll have to rethink things. But I think we should be fine. We do have relatively low manpower, but I think we are on volunteer only, which we don't need to change at the moment. I think we'll be okay. So what to do in this one? Should we go? I don't think we should go after Russia this time in this game. I think if you guys want to see this as an actual series, which I know most likely you will, we should go after China this time. We should really just go after Donald Trump's main enemy, as he thought of in the entire election, was China. China taking our jobs, China doing this, China doing that. So I think in this series we should declare war on China. Be very radical about Donald Trump's decisions, but you never know. Some of these are actually kind of, he might do this kind of thing. Like China. I mean, he's very much angering China, and not really Putin. At least I think as far as the news is concerned, I think, as far as I've heard, Putin and Donald Trump relatively get along. So I don't think, but that's kind of terrifying because, I mean, if that's true, Donald Trump might just be able to do whatever the fuck he wants. And Russia, with the same, Putin might just be able to do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's not good at the end of the day. That's kind of terrifying. So the Islamic State has a few troops. Kind of everybody just sitting around, not really doing much. It's kind of terrifying. Kurdistan's moving out, though. Kurdistan's actually wanted to do something, so that's good. Oh, Israel, man, it's been a while. Remember when Israel was this big? Ooh, boy. I should get back to that here soon at some point, but, it's a brand new era. A new president, a new prime minister over in the UK. I would love to see what the UK does. That's got to be really cool. I would really love to see that. But, what are we at? February. Let's go until mid-March, I think, and that'll probably be it for us. Just a little bit, just a couple months. Maybe into April if we really want to. Let's go ahead, get a conservative orator in there. But that won't change our decisions comes 4 years from now. I'm not going to make my decision based on what's happening here in the political view. I'm going to make my decision based on your guys' things. Do you want me to have Bernie Sanders as president? Do you want me to have, if it prompts me to have Hillary, which I'm guessing the majority of you won't want me to do, but if you do, please let your votes be heard in my series. If your vote wasn't heard in the election, let it be heard in mine, and you never know, yours could most likely make a difference. Kind of depends. But we're going to be going at it as the start of basically like a few days ago, and we're going to see what happens in the world. Maybe a lot of drastic things change. Of course, the Russians building up their army. China and Russia relatively get along with each other, which is not okay. China doesn't really like me because they're loyal to our enemy kind of things, So, you never really know what the United States might do now. We live in a very terrifying time, but, it's not as terrifying as when the Soviet Union was at large during the Cold War. That's not really, it's not as terrifying, but I don't know, you can kind of argue that we're living in kind of a Cold War 2.0 with Russia and China in the U.S. kind of bulking up their armies, bulking up the nuclear power. You can kind of argue that we're living in a Cold War 2.0 kind of thing. I mean, that's terrifying to think of, but if you look, it's kind of realistic. I mean, you could see that as actually being a thing. I don't know what they are. Somebody in Aleppo is, I think, attacking them. I mean, if we say, they're against them, then Turkey's just going to be able to rush and destroy. This looks like Syria's taking most of their land back, though. So we don't really need to worry about them. But yeah, relatively terrifying. So what to do with the military this time, too? Do you guys want me to go after North Korea, destroy North Korea and China very quickly? I do want to do that. I want to destroy China. I want to possibly destroy Russia again. Kind of depends on 4 years from now what our decision is as president. That's really going to make the big part. So, in about a month we will end the episode. A few times in this mod, I've actually seen Germany get out of NATO, and I've seen them happen in 2017, I've seen it happen in 2000, so that's kind of very terrifying that Germany all of a sudden leaves, just abandons it. So they're strengthening NATO, we're doing our education reform, just everything is happening. Poland's building up their armies basically against the Russians. Of course, the big fight will be the Russians and the CSTO, but I think a bigger fight will be China. I don't think in the last series we took out China. Again, I could be wrong, but I think that'd be really fun. Maybe taking back the Philippines, from our enemies. I mean, they're social democrat. Taking back the Philippines, a land that we used to own. Not anymore now. We could try to do a great purge of the Pacific Islands. Maybe I mean, Australia, we could take out them as well if we want to. They're libertarian, so they're not too terrible. Go after Vietnam like we did in the last episode when they were communist. You know, we could do a lot of things this one. I think it's going to be really, really enjoyable, really fun. Hopefully you guys think so too. I love coming back to old series that we used to do, like the United States. Remember, back then we were playing in 2016, the election was going to happen. Barack Obama was still president. You know, the world didn't look as terrifying as it does now, and it just, I don't know. Britain supports NATO. The British government has sent military delegation to our Ministry of Defense. Their reaffirmed support to the North Atlantic Trade Treaty Organization will only help us. So it's good. Thanks, old chap. Cute. So let's do some research here. More construction, very good for us. So we will do it. So we can go with Iran, which of course we won't do. We can go with the Saudis, or we can, do that. Support the Shiite or the Sunnis. We'll make that decision later on. I don't think, again, all of these kind of national focus trees. We will befriend South Korea, though, because that's one of the things that actually is going on in the U.S. now. We are very much friends with South Korea and North Korea. And we know that the leader there is nuts. So, we're okay with that. And we will make our decisions based on what South Korea thinks. But everything else, what is the UK doing? English factories, cute. Cute, cute, cute. Support the Kims. Ooh. Does that mean Kim Jong-un and all them? Ooh, maybe. Ooh, ho, 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 ho. That's terrifying. I've never seen that one before. That's scary. That'll be fun, though. That'll be really cool. But it's about to be time to end the episode. Of course, this is a small little, if you guys want me to continue kind of thing. I know we didn't officially get done with the United States, but there really wasn't that much more with the United States that we could have done. We destroyed the CSTO with Russia. I don't think we destroyed China, granted, but we destroyed the CSTO. I mean, if we did destroy China, we basically wiped out all of the enemies that the U.S. had. But now is a different story. Donald Trump is in power. We'll have to see what happens. And of course, as things happen, I'll make, alterations to decisions. But I want this to be more of a fan-made theory of what do you think Donald Trump would do as president. Of course, it's going to be very radical because without radicalness in this game, it would be very boring. But I want you guys to make a story out of this one. I think this is going to be really fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you guys will come back to see more of the United States once more. I hope you guys love the coming back to an old friend, basically, in the channel. This was one of my biggest series, when starting the channel. And I'm great to come back to it. I love coming back to things like this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, Glenn Games signing off as always. Take care, everyone.